Hello, everyone. My name is Jorge, and I'm going to go over week seven's automation um, scenario here. As we know a little bit of background, Karl here, he's encouraged by our efforts and wants to ramp up his development efforts of the bowling system. And so he hires Ralph, who, according to Ralph or himself, he's a DBA. Um, so he's going to help us support this team of developers. But it turns out that Ralph has a bad habit of just giving everyone the system admin role. And so, knowing that that's not correct, since the system admin role is pretty powerful, we let's go ahead and talk about a little bit about that system admin role and how it can be dangerous. So, the first scenario is to explain why overusing the system admin role can be trouble. So, first, any user in this role can bypass any security. So, if used incorrectly, a data breach can happen, and that can cost quite a lot. If someone in the development group, let's say, leaves their computer open without or not locked or anything like that, anyone can just come in here and either get a copy of the database or delete or whichever. So it's very very uh, disastrous to have something like that. So, and if you have any blocks set up for the login, it'll also be bypassed. Meaning, if you have restrictions, it can, um, since it's a system admin role, it'll bypass them. And for this, what you'd want to do is define who will be the members of this role, right? Senior DBAs would be a good example, not like junior DBAs or anything like that, but someone who obviously you can trust and should have this. So, yeah, limit that access just to them or that role. And so, yeah, with that as well, keep the system admin role in mind that it can do everything any other role can. It's basically all together. So that could be very, very dangerous. So that's why we don't want to do that. So to be able to know the man Ralph here to see how many logins he's created and things like that, what we're gonna do is first create Ralph a login, and after create login, what we want to do is just schedule a job, right? That will run every day for all the logins. So first we create a login, and we give them the role here of system admin. After that, you do want to look at some security catalogs here, like we have. So if you execute them, you can see that this will tell you the name and the principal ID, which is really important, and the modified date. That will, if anything changes, then that will be updated. And so we can see that there's a lot that's already created, so it's really important. So after we know that, we see that the principal ID can connect to the role principal ID and the principal member principal ID. So to make the query, you basically have to join twice to uh, the same table, but just change the names of it, or just give an alias that's different. So this is what I did, and this is what's going to give me every time I do this. These are the values that I want to save. Principal ID, knowing that 3 equals system admin, and who the member is, which, as you can see, equals to them, the actual logins, right? And when it was last modified. So that's super important. With that, we need to make sure when we create the table that we create it in the MSDB. That's where we can store our jobs. So it's super important that you create that, and you make sure that you also create important things in this case, right? Like a schema. If you don't have a schema, then you want to create it. But I'm just going to use a custom underscore audit schema that created, and this is what we'll do. So basically, what we need to do after that is create a table that will catch anything that this query has, and we make sure that we have the same data types. So we know IDs are usually ints or integers, and dates are usually date or date time data types, and the names are usually varchar or just strings, right? It's just characters. So that's what we'll do. The principal name, right? Since usually they're short, I'm just gonna put a 15. Got some ints going on, right, for each one. Varchar principal name. It could be long, as we see here. If I just select this real quick, you can see that some principal names can be kind of long, like this one, right? So I thought, well, 100 should be plenty to cover it. So this is what the table will look like. Once we create that table, we need to insert those values, and these should be quite simple. You can do an insert into select, and something that I like about the insert intos is that if you do the same amount of fields when you do the select, you don't have to specify which fields. Though if you want to make sure, then you can just copy this and then paste it over. But yeah, you just do the select. Basically, what we're doing is we're combining these two tables together. Or sorry, this query with this new table. We're combining it and we do it. After that, what we need to do is, after we've created Ralph's login, so let's say that we've already created, here's Ralph, my man here. After creator's login, what we have to do as Ralph is we have to create 4 new logins. So I'm going to go ahead and change it. And here are the new logins I'm going to use. And so I'm going to keep the same start of the name, the Havoc. So I'm going to create Dan, Lisa, Nas, and Lo. So I'll create those. As we can see, those have been created. And what's important now here is after we've done this, is that the job is running correctly. And to be able to create a job here, what you do is you click down here on the SQL agent and you hit on new job. But I won't be doing that since I already created it. I created mine. It's called check for system admin accounts. I'm going to go ahead and click properties so we can take a look at it. Here's the name and here's the steps. So you got 2 steps, right? One is we need to make sure we create a new table. So if we look at it, it's that this query back here. Every time we do want to create a new table every time, so we want to give the command of drop table if exists on there, and we got to make sure it's the correct database. And if you put an advance in here, if it's successful, go to the next step. If it fails, then just quit and report the failure. Then the next one that we have here should be the last one. Last step is we insert that information that we grab from this query up here that we created on line 44 through 51. So we copy and paste it there. We make sure that the MSDV is also selected, and that after it is successful, that we quit, that we're done with the job, right? Like the job is done. So those are the 2 that I have in here. And whoops, before I do that, I'm gonna go over the schedules. So we want to make sure that this runs every day. So what we do is you either create a new one and you give it a name. I just gave it daily check, right? It occurs daily. You give it daily at what time, and things like that. And I know you can also send an email if necessary, but in this case, I said I didn't need to. So it's all good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run it. After we run it, we should be able to see that this gets deleted. Actually, why don't we go ahead and drop the table? Okay, and then we refresh. Should only be one table, or you can just hit delete over here. Say it okay. The reason why this didn't work is because I wasn't in the right database here, so it should be good. And what we're gonna do is we right click it and we do start job with step, and we're gonna start it in step 1. So basically the whole thing, right? We're just gonna run it. I'm gonna hit start. So tell me how's it going, and it's been successful. So if it is successful, then it should appear here after I refresh. There we go. I'm just going to select top 100, and the ones that I created, if you remember, they're right here. So, hey, this will keep us in check. Every time we look at it, it'll let us know if Ralph created any of these. So that's pretty good. That we're able to see. Another thing we need to see is if anything goes wrong, I can always look at the history, right? It'll tell us who ran it, if the job succeeded, and any other details about the steps if they worked. So that's some good stuff, and that will just give us the ability to be safe, right? To be safe with any new login that Ralph creates, and if anything happens or anything like that, then we have a list of users who have the access, and maybe we need to update them or change them. That's basically it for scenario 7. Have a good one.